With all the financial troubles facing KTM at the beginning of this season, a lot of us were worried they'd have to pull out of MotoGP. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Even better, we no longer have to call them by that name that makes it sound like they sell rascal scooters. Welcome back to another edition of 2025 MotoGP midterm report cards, and we're talking about Tech3 KTM. Yes, we'll get to the factory boys later, but right now we're in independent team land. But before we start, please like, follow, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons so you get all the MotoGP content you can possibly imagine. So here we go. Tech3 KTM, Maverick Viñales, journeyman all the way from Suzuki to Yamaha to Aprilia to KTM. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that Maverick Viñales was going to be the standout performer on the KTM from the satellite team, I would have called you a liar. Maverick is kind of notoriously sensitive on a motorcycle. It kind of has to be really set up for him to go fast. He has to feel really, really good. He's not a Marc Marquez who just kind of rides around the problems. He needs the bike kind of tailor-made to his strong points. We saw it with Suzuki. We saw it with Yamaha. We saw how frustrated he got when the Yamaha was no longer behaving the way he wanted it to. And the same thing kind of happened at Aprilia. But now at KTM, it seems like he's found new life. It's still early in the relationship. There's plenty of time for it to go bad. But right now, he's doing a pretty phenomenal job. Oftentimes the best KTM in qualifying and in the race, scoring points. And I mean, let's just run through the numbers real quick because he finishes second at the Qatar Grand Prix at the beginning of the season. No one saw that coming. Finishing second on the KTM, his first year at KTM, we've seen riders like Johan Zarco just get humbled there and not perform. And we've seen this year how much Brad Binder has even struggled on that machine. And right out of the gate, Maverick is fast. It blew my mind. Now, unfortunately, a tire pressure penalty knocked him back to 14th, so he doesn't get to collect the second place points, but still a phenomenal ride. So let's look elsewhere to see how he's done. Fourth in Jerez, top KTM. Fifth in Le Mans, right behind Pedro Acosta. Fifth in Assen. And let's also not forget he was fighting for a podium and gaining on the leaders in Mugello, and Frankie Morbidelli kind of unceremoniously escorted him into the gravel trap. So that would have been a much better finish. But even overall, he's currently 11th in the points. Right there, ahead of factory KTM Brad Binder. I was not expecting that. I'm a huge Brad Binder fan. Obviously, Wonderboy Pedro Acosta, he's the second coming of Marc Marquez. We're expecting those guys to be fast, but Maverick Viñales seems to be the one flying the KTM flag loudest and proudest. Now, by the way, going back to the beginning, how glad are we that we never have to hear the words Pure Mobility Group ever again? Thank God they're back to KTM. No gas, no Pure Mobility Rascal Scooter Group, just KTM. Okay, back to it. So 11th in the points, ahead of Brad Binder. This is not where I expected Maverick Viñales to be this season. He has really, really exceeded all of my expectations. I expected them to take half a season at least to show any promise on that KTM. It feels like that bike really needs to be ridden hard and rough. I mean, we see Brad Binder's style. We've seen Pedro Acosta's style. That bike really needs to be wrangled. And Maverick has never seemed like a wrangly type rider. Like there's not a cowboy in him except for when he wins at Coda. But it seems like he can be smooth and fast on this machine, and I was not expecting that. So hats off to Maverick. I think if it wasn't for this injury at the end of the season, we'd see him even further up the points. Obviously, that second place, getting demoted to 14th, really hurt. He could easily be in the top 8 in the points on this satellite KTM Tech3. That was never seen by anyone. So you really got to take your hats off to him. I've been a Maverick hater in the past. I have to just kind of say, it's doing pretty darn good this season. So then we go on to the other side of the garage with the beast, Enea Bastianini, and the news is a lot bleaker there. Yes, he has some top 10s. Yes, he scored some points, but I do want to ride some numbers past you. 17th in the points compared to his teammate who's 11th. He's almost 19. He is 19 points behind Brad Binder and 20 points behind Maverick Viñales. He has not been competitive at all on the KTM. yet to score double-digit points on a weekend. Any weekend, sprint, main race together, can't get double-digit points. Even when he does well in the sprint, he DNFs in the main race. He just can't win for freaking losing, this guy. He also has 4 weekends with 0 points. Now, that podium at Brno, end of the first half of the season, super impressive. Looks like he might have some momentum, and then he DNFs in the race. Now, granted, a lot of people DNF'd in the race. We're not going to be too hard on him, but like you got to follow that podium up with some more points. Like, go get him. But it just seems that he's always just reaching. Now, he has had a top 10 in Thailand, Austin, Herve, Assen. Pretty impressive. Again, on that KTM, which it's a new bike to him. But the one thing that's missing from Enea Bastianini this year is that late race pace he's so freaking famous for. This is a guy who has not been very good qualifying historically. He's done good in his races by coming forward on Sunday. You get to half race distance, he's consistently the fastest guy on the track. But things on the KTM don't look as easy in the last half of the race as they do. I mean, yeah, things on the KTM don't look as easy as they did on the Ducati, obviously. On that Ducati, he could come through and right around 8th, 9th, 10th, and then by the end of the race, he's on the podium. He's not doing that this year, and that doesn't mean that he can't do that on the KTM. It's just not coming as easy. He is struggling. And let's not, obviously the guy had food poisoning, missed a round. That's not very much fun. So coming back and having a good performance in Brno, good on him. But the season overall has been massively disappointing, and I don't think I'm understating that at all. They keep saying every single week in the broadcast, where's the beast? Where's Bastianini? This is a MotoGP winner. This is a Grand Prix podium finisher. This is a guy who we expect to be going forward. And when KTM gave him that contract, they're giving it to him because he's an experienced rider at this point. He can bring that knowledge like Jack Miller from Ducati, bring that over to KTM and help them move the bike forward. But he can't do that from 18th place on the grid. It's just not possible. Now let's talk about Tech3, Tech3, the team. Best independent team behind the 2 Ducati independent teams. So I think it's safe to say, and I said this in the last video with Aprilia, the Ducati independent teams have an advantage over everyone else from the machinery side of things. And they also have some pretty talented riders on those bikes. So all the wisdom in the world should say those are the top 2 independent teams. Everyone else is fighting for what I call best of the rest. And right now, Tech3 is the best of the rest. And I didn't expect them to be. I kind of thought Trackhouse would take that. Maybe Pramac Yamaha with the experience there from Jack Miller and Oliveira, although the Yamaha, admittedly, a little bit of a weaker motorcycle than the KTM or the Aprilia. So I have been pleasantly surprised by Tech3 KTM being right there as that next best tier of independent teams. Now, and given the turmoil that was happening at KTM and the fact that we didn't even know if KTM would be racing, and they were talking about stopping development on the bike and freezing it was a nightmare over there. So much so that Pedro Acosta's going, wait, where's the door? I need to get out of here. I can't be on a sinking ship. Like, I'm trying to win a title. I'm trying to be the best there ever was. It's not going to happen if the motorcycle manufacturer you're riding with can't stay in business. Luckily, they found a way to keep the lights on, and they've also found a way to get Maverick Viñales comfortable, which I said earlier, not the easiest thing in the world to do. And they figured out how to do it very, very quickly. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Now, Enea, he is struggling. They have to figure out how to get him up to speed on this KTM. Is it the machinery? Are they throwing too many parts in development at him? Jack Miller has kind of hinted that they kind of like to just throw as much spaghetti at the wall, and they're just looking for all these different kind of magic bullet solutions over there, and that they just never really come. And so have they just not found a direction to go, or is this really Enea just not gelling with the motorcycle? We don't know from the outside. It's probably a little bit of both. But I have to make a small admission. I'm a little bit biased when I talk about Tech3 because I am a Herve Poncharal stan. Herve, that's my guy right there. My favorite interview in the paddock, my favorite voice to hear in the commentary booth. I like his interviews. I love what he says. I love that he doesn't hold back, but he still does it in an endearing way. The love he shows for Simon Crafar and Jack, knowing that what they do is a very hard job, but he doesn't make it harder on them. He gives them great quotes. He gives them a lot of entertainment value, and I love hearing from him. Huge fan. And how do you not just love the joy that you heard in that man's voice when KTM Tech3 won their first ever MotoGP race? Dream come true, this 60-year-old, 65-year-old man or however old he was in 2020. I mean, just tears of joy. You could hear it in his voice on the broadcast, how much it meant to him to finally, as an independent team owner, win a MotoGP race. If you don't love him after that, I don't want to be friends with you. Sue me. So I am a little bit biased with Tech3. Yeah, Herve Poncharal gives me joy. Now, as much as I love Gunter Steiner and all the rumors that are swirling about that investment group moving in, taking over the Tech3 team, I think Herve is probably getting to the age where he's ready to retire, be less active in the MotoGP paddock. We've also seen him kind of step back from IRTA. That all makes sense, but I will be sad to see Herve go, even if that means we get a Gunter. I like a Gunter. I like a Herve better. Okay, so finally, let's get to the grades. Maverick Viñales is going to get a very rare A on the program. So far and above my expectations. Yes, he's only 11th in the points. So, maybe that's not knocking your socks off, but from where I thought he would be this season, which was kind of nowhere, he's been doing a phenomenal job. So A, second best KTM. Even after losing all those points in the Qatar round for that second place, still really, really good season. On the other side of the garage, I give Enea a C minus. Now, was tempted to give him a D. I bumped it up to a C minus because he has had a few top tens. He showed some signs, and then that sprint podium, it gives me a little bit of hope for him. Again, it's a new bike, new manufacturer. He's still a young guy. He's got to figure it out. He's just running out of time to figure it out. So get the let out. C minus for him. Now, the team overall, like I said, best independent team that isn't Ducati, so I am giving them an A. Yeah, this team's getting an A. What are you going to do about it, right? They're so far above where I expected them to be. This could have very easily been kind of a swan song for Maverick Viñales, as well as a struggling Enea Bastianini. They could have been the last place team easily, especially with the financial crisis over there at KTM. They didn't. They're an experienced team. They got the right people in place. They got the right team boss in place, and they know how to get things out of riders, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. And yes, love myself some Herve. Not going to lie. Moves that B plus to an A real quick. There you go. So that's all for this episode of MotoGP midterm report cards. We're going to keep them coming. We got one more independent team. I think we're going to talk about Gresini next, and then we're on to the factory boys. Stay tuned.